Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Negotiation. My name is Todd Embley. I am your host as usual, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Igor Duc. He is the co-founder, and CEO of Native Union. A quick blurb about Native Union. It is a consumer electronics accessories company that combines the finest hand-picked materials, thoughtful design, and considered details to create products with personality, empowering the modern lifestyle. Igor, welcome to the show.
Todd, thank you very much for having me today. Pleasure.
Awesome. So let's put you on the map. Let people know where in the world are you recording from and have, for those watching on video, that beautiful green background.
I'm in Hong Kong, where I live since the past 16 years now, and I like usually to spend my Christmas in Hong Kong. So, in Hong Kong, as we speak now.
Yeah, I don't blame you because as I'm recording on the west coast of North America, it is really cold. We have an incredible cold front that came down through Siberia and came over to our way. So all of us on the west coast right now, those of you listening in January, as I'm sure you will remember back to that week before Christmas and remember how cold it is. So I'm very jealous of what the weather looks like outside your window that you were enjoying today in Hong Kong. But I digress. Igor, please tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Sure. So I'm Igor. I'm 41 years old, three kids, all made and born in Hong Kong. And I could qualify myself as a creative person, but without creative talent, unfortunately. So since I started my professional career, I've always tried to surround myself with talented, creative people. So I'll tell you more about that. I'm the co-founder of Native Union and CEO, as you said. It's a lifestyle brand, Native Union, with a focus on tech accessories, but not only. Basically, what we do is we uncover good ideas and we turn them into desirable and durable products. Obviously, I have French roots, which are very difficult to hide. And I started Native Union 13 years ago here in Hong Kong.
Okay. I would like to go back first and foremost, and we're going to get into Native Union for sure. But how did you end up going from, was it Paris, I believe, traveling, and how did you end up in Hong Kong? How did you end up in Asia in the first place?
Well, that's a series of life ricochet. Do you say that in English as well?
Yes, yeah.
Good.
Ricochet,
So it's really a ricochet. If you want the full understanding, I wanted to go to San Diego for university exchange, but I failed. Okay, but I've been proposed to go to Singapore, which I took without much enthusiasm at that time, and I loved Singapore. Spent almost a year there in university exchange, went all across the region, obviously enjoying the cheap weekend flights. And from there, I came back to France to finish my business school. I learned Indonesian in France because I really loved what I've been exposed to when I was in Bali. So then after my school, I went back to Bali and I started to do some stone trading between Bali and France. Then I decided when I was in Paris to remain in this creative interior design world that I really enjoy and to create a furniture brand. Okay. And the idea was 23, 24 years old, probably we were all having not much money. So the same IKEA design interior, all dreaming about beautiful Italian furniture, but obviously couldn't afford it. So the concept was to buy great design from graduation exams of design schools. You know, when you graduate from design school, you do a last year end project for your graduation. Spend a lot of time, high quality design, but usually those projects are just conceptual and never really become products. So we were contacting, there's
Yeah.
a lot of good design school in France. So contacting those young graduated guys, say, show us your portfolio. We're going to edit that. So I was editing young French designer, and the other side, so that's the good design side, and the affordable price side was Asia. So we had to manufacture in Asia in order to make this mix possible. So I happened to move to Beijing first to try to find some factories. No, I started with some Indonesia, a bit of Thailand. That was not at all the right supply chain. So ended up in Beijing, ended up in North China, Harbin, Qiqihar, close to the forests where there is a lot of oak tree. Started this business, went back to BC to France, opened some stores, had a lot of manufacturing problem, obviously, between what we hope we would get and the reality. So went back to China, then understood that the expertise in wood carving in China was really in the Guangdong province, woodworking, wood carving. So ended up around Guangzhou, started to work with new suppliers, continue my path to try to manufacture a great product, which was not easy. And during this Guangzhou trip, happened to spend a weekend in Hong Kong to see some friends. And there I fell in love, sorry, with not with someone, but with Hong Kong, really, with this city. I don't know, you've been to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Have you been there during one of those crazy weekends where you spend 3 days and you enjoy the seaside, you go on boats, you trail? I mean, everything that most of the people don't know about Hong Kong. You don't know that Hong Kong can offer probably even more outdoor experience than the very interesting and vibrant city center. So anyway, loved Hong Kong so much that I decided to craft a life project around relocating here. And because all my suppliers were anyway quite close to Hong Kong, it was logical. So arrived in Hong Kong 16 years ago to take care of the production part of this furniture company that I set up. That's the ricochet. That's the last ricochet.
Yeah, and I mean, you definitely dipped into what my next question was going to be. You also, funny enough, kind of almost dipped into my marriage a bit. I actually was engaged in Harbin to my wife. We were there on New Year's Eve celebrating on a trip up there, and that's when I asked her to marry me. We were married in Bali. So that was another touch point. So you were kind of bouncing around a little bit there. I also spent a lot of time in Beijing as well. But yes, and then for those who maybe don't quite know the geography of China, that Guangdong region is kind of, Shenzhen at the south and Guangzhou more at the maybe the northwest of that. I think, if I'm getting it right, and that is like a manufacturing mecca. That's why you see all the these hardware accelerators from around the world. Mm-hmm. We've talked to Brink, we've talked about Hacks, from the tech side of things. It's just the manufacturing region, which is why there's a lot there. And what I wanted to ask you next was really talking about why, based out of Hong Kong and Greater China, why did it make so much sense for you to base your company out of Hong Kong, Greater China? I think you covered a lot of that, but I'll propose it to you if there was anything else inside that question that you may want to talk about. Why that area? Why be based out of Hong Kong? I know you fell in love with Hong Kong, but why does it also make such business sense for you to be based there?
No, it's important to clarify, because I could have gone back to France and managed my company like most of the brands, with a buying office or partnering with some manufacturing partners here in Asia. But and by the way, when we set up Native Union as well, we'll get to Native Union. It was the same. It's very unconventional to create a brand in Hong Kong. I don't think you can name actually any brand that you know that is born in Hong Kong. Usually, Hong Kong is seen as the the production or the back office or the buying office, but the HQ are located elsewhere. But that tells a lot, I think, about Native Union and about who we are. We've decided really to be close to the manufacturing. We've decided to become experts at that part of the business. I think every company has a DNA, and you have companies that are excellent at marketing, and they do beautiful, they make people dream, but then they don't put as much resources on the product itself. Company who are excel at finance, company, and our DNA is product. We are product people, we love products, and on that sense Hong Kong is magical because we are 1 hour to 2 hours from where the product is made, and seeing a factory. I don't know if you've been in factories, but for me it's it's still after that much time in this industry, it's marvelous. You see the components coming, you understand, you see those big machines, you see the whole process. It's magic happening. It's the chocolate factory at scale one. So yes, it made business sense a lot, and I think it gave us as well a very big competitive advantage because we are controlling and we infuse the whole people in the company on how products are made, how to make a good product, and that help us a lot, I think, in our quest to bring quality craftsmanship into what we do today.
Yeah, I resonate with that hypothesis greatly. When a lot of guests know my background, I was in venture capital with SOSV, and we were running an accelerator, software accelerator out of Dalian. And we thought that it might be a good idea to try getting into hardware. And we had Kickstarter in Indiegogo to try to help companies that wanted to get into hardware and start building Raspberry Pi and Arduino and some technologies like this. We're really helping entrepreneurs play around with a lot of IoT and things like that. What we figured out really quickly was you can teach a lot of things, but you have to be close, physically close to manufacturing. So we could have built that accelerator for startups that were doing hardware anywhere in the world, really, because everything is digital. But we ran it out of Shenzhen because being near and close and understanding and paying close attention to your factories, to your production, was really what you needed to nail and understand if you were going to actually, you know, like Pinocchio, and become a real boy. If you were going to become a real business globally, that was the one thing that we felt was probably one of the hardest things that people were going to have struggle with. So located it there. So yes, I completely understand and agree with that premise. Now, tell us about Native Union. We've been all around this. We haven't actually got right into Native Union. So please tell us all about what is Native Union.
So first of all, I think the way Native Union has been created is again quite unconventional, and to tell you again the true story and not the marketing story, it happened like a happy incident. I would call it a happy incident, and the real vision about the brand came up after that. So I'll just briefly get to the incident, and then I'll tell you a bit more about what we do today. But I was in Hong Kong developing my furniture business, okay? And I was, at that time, there was no co-working space, but I was renting a desk, sub-renting a desk in a bigger office that one of my friends was renting. So it was the ancestor of the co-working space. And I happened for one weekend, I went to the flea market in Hong Kong and purchased this old retro phone, Chinese phone. And you know, that was the time of the Blackberries, iPhone 1, where most of the smartphone had the 3.5 jack port.
Yeah, the headphone jack.
Exactly, the headphone jack, the headphone. Yeah. So anyway, I happened just at the weekend to play with, to cut the big retro handsets, fit headphone jack into it, solder the microphone and the speaker track and test it, and it was working. And I get back to the office and I brought that. It was quite fun. I don't know if you remember, because we actually launched the product. It was a big retro handset that you plug into your smartphone at that time. And my neighbor, who happened to become my co-founder after, actually took it, plug it, and say, hey, that's great. I have a BlackBerry, but you know what? First, it's very uncomfortable. It's flat. And then I have all my contact, all my calendar on it. So I cannot have the smartness of my smartphone here. I need it here. So then I need to say, wait. So anyway, no landline at that time already. To cut a long story short, after a few people saw it and say, oh, do you see which product I'm talking about? Or you don't have anything in mind? Because I'll show you a picture now.
I believe I do, but I think I'll still take the picture to help out. But yeah, it's almost like foam headphone over ear.
No. It was a handset, a retro handset. I don't know if you see this big retro handset.
Yeah, like the big brick.
Retro one. That's
you plug. Oh. So like, okay. So for those of you listening, audio only, it's a rotary phone with the coil cord, the corded phones, with kind of like the round mouthpiece at the bottom and the handle, and then the round earpiece at the top that were identical, really. And you held it up to your head, like the old school type of rotary phones that we used to use.
Exactly. So
that handset.
When you look at that picture, it sounds like completely crazy, a bit stupid, very funny. But what happened is, the more people around me were, so I was buying old phone, I was soldering, I did maybe 10 for the people around, and they all told me, but that's great, because it's so much more comfortable. We don't use landline anymore, but we have the comfort of the landline with the modern smartphone. So with this, I was still again in my furniture business. We've decided to open toolings in China. So I had obviously a network of designers. We redesigned the handset, we opened a tooling. We did, 2,000 pieces, maybe a small production. And we went to CES 14 years ago with a bag. We took a room there and we asked a few people, press to come. And it went absolutely crazy. Basically, every people that saw this product had their heartbeat accelerating. There was an emotional thing with this product. And remember that we went to CES, so Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. This is a world of technology, but this is a world of utilitarian technology, kind of boring technology. We come up with something fun, colorful, never seen. And so all the buyers started to actually say, yeah, you know what, we're going to test. That's fun. They don't even talk about price. We're going to take 100 pieces, 500 pieces. What happened then was I think something unique that don't happen a lot in a lifetime. We sold everywhere in the world. We sold basically 2.6 million pieces of them in less than 3 years. So all the cool department store started to want this product because it was bringing again life and something new to their assortment and for their customers. So we started in the lifestyle channels, department store, cool design stores, concept store, Kapok, that I know since the beginning, took them probably again 13 years ago when we launched them. And so we never paid for any press, but we had a lot of celebrities being shot, like Lenny Kravitz in New York on the front page of the People's Magazine. We had a lot of, it was insane. We could not make enough. We opened probably 10 toolings to try to cope with demand. But remember that we still had our furniture business. John, my kind of business partner, was running an outdoor furniture. I was running my furniture business, and that started to take a lot of time. And it was what to do. I mean, it was supposed to be a half side business / joke. Okay, we're going to try, and it took off. I'm going to lend to Native Union, but this was already Native Union because we created this brand Native Union, which was the union between the old world of the retro handset and so native communication, old world, and the new smartphone. And this single product brought us to we did 300,000 US the first year, 3 million the second year, and 15 million the third year. Just to give you the scale, the stratospheric vertical landing that was really propelling the company. And from that, what happened is when you're highly successful with a product, often you become a target for counterfeit. Okay. So after 2 years and a half to 3 years of really big success, we've been highly counterfeit. When I say counterfeit, I'm not talking about products that were looking like ours. Those were existing since the beginning. I'm talking about products that were having the native union logo on it, okay, called Moshi Moshi, the real counterfeit. And when you were crossing the border between Hong Kong and Shenzhen, you know, where you have all those small shops, you could find basically luxury bags counterfeit, Beats headphone, and native union handset. The company almost died at that time because suddenly a lot of confusion in the buyer's head. Why I have this? And the problem is, although we took a lot of time at that time to fine tune the acoustic to really make a good product. We already had this DNA of making sure the details were nice, the product was a high quality product. But visually, their product was the same. No one knew what was inside. So we almost died, and we took the time to think, which normally a normal company, they do their business plan before launching. But because, again, we never launch, we happen to have this stratospheric growth without putting any thought behind it. So we thought, okay, what are we doing here? We have the best retailer in the world buying our product. We can feel, I think it was the iPhone... it was probably 2011 or 12, iPhone 5, which was a beautifully aluminum crafted, again, a headset, more expensive. So we could feel basically that the smartphone was becoming the center point of our life, and it will be in the future. And we were in this between tech and lifestyle, and we thought, okay, we're going to come up with a brand, really. So that's where the real brand foundation came up. We're going to create a brand to elevate the whole ecosystem of accessories around the smartphone. iPhone and Apple are doing high quality, amazing smartphone, but all the accessories around are shit. So we're going to be the brand to apply quality design, quality material, and elevated experience to this world. And this is really, so in 2012, when we did all the work of, okay, internalize the design studio. We're going to go into a few categories only. A brand, we wanted to become a brand basically, when before we just did few products that happened to be successful. And this is what we keep doing now after 13 years. We apply it obviously to more categories, but that's what we do. We do daily essential accessories. Okay, so lifestyle accessories around our technologies, so around mostly our laptop and our smartphone. But we execute them like a fashion brand or an interior design brand would do, with a lot of attention to make sure the experience is really delightful and not only efficient and utilitarian.
I wanted to briefly ask if there's would a brand owner today entering the markets in Asia, in APAC, would they have to worry as much about trademark or copyright infringement the way that we saw it 10, 15 years ago?
It's a good question. For some reason, I would say less, but it's only really a feeling. I'm trying to think why I would tell you that I feel there is less copy, less risk of infringement, less race to copy the latest cool product.
I feel like, in my opinion, just over the last 15 years, I feel like Asia has just grown up. They've matured. They are becoming more sophisticated in some ways. I think they're carrying themselves with a little more class, and they, I think, are starting to understand that that is bad form. And yes, and I also would say that there are some legal rumblings, although still quite difficult to execute. But I think that they might be coming into their own and realizing, and I think there's some legal ramifications that might be involved there as well. That's my feeling.
Yeah, no, you're probably right on that end. And I would add that the consumer as well has evolved. And because
Mm,
people
mm,
were
mm-hmm,
aware that they were
mm-hmm.
not buying the genuine product. And now I think there is much more responsibility. People don't want to buy something crap that's gonna just last few weeks or few months and just trash it after. So I think the buy less but buy better as well, and the consciousness of the consumer has evolved in the positive way. So less
Yeah,
demand for crap copycats means less interesting as well for China suppliers. And the combination of the
yeah.
two is probably why we feel this problem is probably less than what it was a few years ago.
It's interesting because we're talking about legitimacy of the brand, not for others to recognize on us, uh, in us, that we use, but actually they start to care for themselves about having legitimate brands and products of those brands. That's something that they actually are desiring. It, in the past, it was wanting to be seen with that brand. Now it's almost an internal argument that they have now, that they want to know that they have that legitimate brand, that legitimate product.
Yes, that's still an education, I think, that has to be done,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going in the right direction. When I say an education, I'm going to specifically mention our product categories because tech accessories come from a utilitarian standpoint. A cable normally is made to connect two devices. That's it. You're probably not going to feel like you need to buy a superior or beautiful cable. However, I'm really fighting for that with passion because I think people should think about um, spending on what they use intensively every day. That's the smart thing to do. Not buy something expensive that you're going to put on your cabinet and not use, but for what, it's the theory of the mattress. You should buy an amazing and very expensive mattress because you spend a third of your life on it. So it's the best investment. After your mattress, you should buy good tech and good accessories around. You know the number now of time you touch your smartphone per day on average is 2,500. You're going to touch your cable, you're going to use your cable, you're going to have it on you every day. So not only it will start to become also part of who you are, status product. You arrive in a Starbucks coffee, you need to charge, you pull out your cable. Will you have a crap white OEM cable, or will you have a beautifully braided craft cable with a leather belt? It tells a lot about who you are. So first of all, those products that used to be utilitarian become daily essential, so become status product. And secondly, people start to understand, I feel, it's slow, but that it's much better to buy, I'm going to remain on the cable example. It's much better to buy a premium cable, maybe 30%, 40% more expensive than the cheap mass one, but that's going to
Mm-hmm.
last you 5 years instead of buying 5 cable every year. It's a much better deal. And I feel this is happening. We've been fighting for that since 10 years. It was difficult. A lot of people told us, "You're crazy guys. Who will pay $40 for a cable?" And I was very vocal, saying, "Guys, it's the best investment." And I feel like the mentalities now start to understand what we try to do since the past 10 years. So I'm optimistic.
I'm with you. I'm also one of those consumers, with kids that have, uh, I mean, I don't know, 4 or 5 devices. I mean, between tablets and phones and the Switch and just the headphones and the charging cables, and it's just, yes, I'm with you. I preach it to the choir. Real quick, I was going to say, like, what is your percentage of revenue from Asia versus outside of Asia or rest of world? And I guess basically what I'm asking is, uh, where are you? Where are you selling? Where is your geography of operation?
Mostly in the US, more than 50%. The second biggest market is Europe, and then Asia is 12 to 15% of our sales. But it's more related really to distribution coverage
Mm.
rather than consumers. We do have specifically in Japan and Korea some people that are very loyal and love the brand and quite a lot of customer, but those people buy online because for some structural reasons, you don't really have the retail coverage in those countries, the high quality retail coverage for tech accessories. In Europe, you have, in the US, you have some big retailers that can carry high quality. In those countries, it's more the small stores. So that explains, in terms of quantity, why we are not that strong in volumes in Asia.
What about the? So I want to ask about the main channels and marketplaces. But I must admit, I'm quite distracted by what you said, something about preferring e-commerce and something, and for some reason I got thinking about when you're about quality, right? When you're about a $40 cable that will last 5 years versus a $4 cable you have to buy 3 or 4 times a year, um, does that fixture on design and quality, does that potentially lend itself more to retail, to offline, so that people can see, experience, feel, touch, gauge the weight of the product, and how do you, how do you drive quality of design and product, and how long it's going to last, um, in online. So I mixed a whole bag of things in there, and I just wanted to get that out of my head so that everybody understood where I was at. Maybe let's talk a little bit about, the main channels and marketplaces that you're operating on right now, and then we can dovetail into that other stuff.
Sure. Main channels remain retail just for two reasons. The first one is historically we started with the retail business. Being again born in Hong Kong, you may know that the digital expertise in Hong Kong is not the best in the world. Okay, so we have not been, I would say, ahead of our game in the digital game, and we've been since the beginning doing trade shows all over the world. So we've developed the retail quite heavily. So that explains why retail is still today our biggest channel. We are not a digital native brand, and we started with retail. And within retail, the lifestyle channel is again where we come from. That's our roots. So again, the department store, concept stores, but those people have the ability to come to your point to display quite well your product, to sometimes put it out of the packaging, people can touch it, but they are not the bulk of the sales, because when you need a tech accessory, your reflex is probably not to go into a department store, to go into a concept store. Those you just go there more for gifting. So we have to rely as well on the consumer electronic channels, which is Apple, for instance. We sell in the Apple stores, but in the States, we sell as well to the Best Buy. Some of our products kind of entry points, because when you need something, you will end up in Best Buy in a way. That's a destination. And in those stores, the experience is not there. So it's much more difficult to sell a premium product and experience when your product is not well displayed. Sometimes there is those big anti-theft plastic case around. We still have obviously a good business there, but usually people start to enjoy the experience when they are home and they open the packaging and they try the product. It's very difficult to give a preview of the premiumness from the stores. So online should be, I think, the best channel for us. So we have our biggest online channels are nativeunion.com, obviously, our store, and Amazon for the same reason I told you about where people go when they need something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of progress to do. Again, we are not very good, and we absolutely have to up our game in online. But I believe, that we could completely sell the craftsmanship, the attention to detail online. When you think about now all those luxury brands selling online, and we don't have the limit of the size that you have when you buy garments, for instance, or shoes. The products are quite small and light to ship. So online should be our biggest channel, and that's the target and the goal. We are not there yet.
Yeah. There's so much to talk about in there. And I wish we had time to get into it, but we probably don't. I mean, just all the marketing, right? Just Instagram, micro influencers, affiliate marketing, all kinds of things. It'd be interesting to know what you've tried, what works, what doesn't. But I want to come back to one thing. So, and staying specific to Asia, how are you maintaining your premium branding, your premium pricing when you're offering your products in Asia?
In Asia, specifically in Asia.
Yeah. Is there something that you particularly have to focus on? Because I would think that, and maybe this is a false assumption, that is a very difficult place to be driving premium, the most difficult place of all the markets that you're in, and perhaps it's not, but I think you're still doing it very well, and you have been successful. And what have been some of the keys to that success in that area of the world?
No, you're right. It's probably more difficult to be selling premium than luxury in Asia, and to be selling premium than entry point. So you're right. How are we doing it? My conviction about that is at some stage we don't want to be selling really things. We want product. We want people that know the brand and that want to buy Native Union. And for that, it's a very long-term game. People say, "Oh, I created a brand." I don't think you create a brand. I think you create products and you become a brand, because you become a brand the day people have had a good experience 1, 2, 3 times, and then they come to a store and they say, "Oh, you have Native Union," or "Do you have Native Union?" And at that time, you have traction. And that's an incompressible set of years, I think, that you have to go through, not disappointing your customer. Coming back to your point, how do we do that? I think it's a mix of first selection of retail points. So if the right people see you in the right places, that will make you a cool brand and a desirable brand, first of all. So being careful not to be in the wrong places and being good enough to interest the right places is something that, again, after a few years, will make your brand a name wherever you are in the world, including in Asia. Okay, so people now, I hope, start to recognize Native Union. So we are in this incredible concept store in Bangkok called Another Story. Big partnership with them. We know that some Thai people are asking for the new Native Union product. Same in Hong Kong, very much supported by Kapok. So I'm trying to answer you. Yes, it's difficult.
Yeah.
But at the end, you just need to have one time the chance to give this buyer the elevated experience. Then he will come back, and then he will understand what you do, and then he will spend again. So for me, the most difficult is the first strike. Get people to test Native Union first.
The other thing that I would imagine you have to remain so vigilant on and about is that you are accessories. So by default, used alongside or with or complementing other products. You have to keep up and know every move, every change, every redesign of those products. So how are you able to adapt and keep up? I know that as we go through iPhone 11, 12, 13, 14, um, the sizes, the shapes, the designs, even we've seen this evolution of the charging cords and the headphone jacks and all these things. And it seems like the day iPhone 14 hits the market, there's cases, there's cords, there's accessories already there waiting for the release of those products. I mean, this is almost personal curiosity at this point, but how do you keep up to that changing environment?
It's very hard. It's quite dangerous as well. It's a world of rumors. So no one has the information. You have a set of rumors, and you have to be able to put them into your mincer and to decide what to do. Okay, and confidentiality. There's a lot of confidentiality. There's a lot of information that cannot be shared. So there's always a risk-taking phase. We personally at Native Union do not take too much risk of working with some early design that are not launched yet. So we have to prepare basically as much as possible as you would pre-cook in a restaurant. Okay, some ingredients in order to fast track the second part. So we have to be extremely prepared. Hence, again, the competitive advantage of advanced knowledge, I would say, on the manufacturing, because we're based in Hong Kong and we spend a lot of time in the factories. And then whenever you have confidence that that is going to happen, or you have confirmation, then you put maximum speed in fast tracking the last step in order to be quick to market. Because you're right, most of the case, for instance, are sold. I think it's 70% of the case are sold in the coming 3 to 4 months after the launch of the model. So but that's so hard that one of the strategy as well in Native Union internally is to not only do accessories for device. We do more and more product that have no form factor specific. And the beautiful thing that happened in the past 6 months is the universality of the charging with the new USB-C standard. That is going to be a fantastic breakthrough for the world, and people will probably buy better cable knowing that they're going to keep this standard for the coming 20 years now.
Yeah, that's right. And it's an interesting thing. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that at, back in 2000, I don't know, back in 2010, the joke was, why should I buy the iPhone 3 today when I can buy the iPhone 4 tomorrow, or something. And it was this joke we used to throw around, almost in a chip on our shoulder kind of way of like, why is everything I buy obsolete in 3 months? And that when you're trying to drive a premium brand and get people to understand that quality is going to save you money. But then they're like, well, do I really want to invest for a period of time when this product line, this technology seems to change so rapidly? Guessing that's probably something, a bit of an uphill battle for you. Now, I'll cut that off though, and I want to move over to more deep dive into geography, into geographic markets where you're operating right now, and maybe we can do a bit of a quick fire round. I've got about 5 markets that I want to talk about, Japan through Thailand, and maybe you can point out some of the individualities of those markets for our listeners who are interested to try to dissect across, some of the greater China versus Southeast Asia types of places. So maybe, some insights into what consumers want and some of the insights and nuances of the consumer electronics accessory space. Let's start with Japan.
Japan is very good because the Japanese consumer has been educated on details, as you know. So they really like quality. They like craft as well. And they understand what we do, which is not the case of... I'm making a generality here, obviously. I'm trying to talk at a country scale. but at the country scale, they like, they understand. Plus, we have also an ongoing collaboration with the Maison Kitsune, which is a French-Japanese brand that you may know that is extremely successful in Japan. So everything we do, Maison Kitsune, is also a great success there. So very good market for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about Greater China?
Harder. Harder because the consumer is very is much more educated. I think that what most of the people believe. He knows exactly how to appreciate a very good product. The thing is, either you're a luxury brand, you are an irrational purchase, okay, and then
For
the
an
value for
irrational
what
price.
completely with an irrational price, and they are very successful there, but then they switch off their value for money computing system and they go,
Yeah.
or they are very, very picky. So when you are not a heritage brand that exists in 100 years old and that can drive this irrational and intangible world, it is difficult to drive a higher price point, exactly as you were mentioning before. So we have to really prove, basically, technically, that our products are superior. More difficult.
Okay. What about Singapore?
Singapore is a good market, is a small market for us, also because retail presence is less. I would say doing okay, but yeah, nothing too special to mention about Singapore.
Okay. Malaysia?
You can feel it's a very polarized country because we don't have many orders, but when we do have orders, it's usually big orders. And it's usually recurring customers as well. So probably some level of loyalty. But we have not put, I would say, the amount of effort to be really present in Malaysia. So it's more people that come to see us rather than us trying to develop in Malaysia those days actively.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last one. Anything unique about consumers in Thailand?
But the quality of the retail is very good. I think there are some great operators and they do things in a very professional way. They do stores in a very professional way. They buy very well. So again, the store I mentioned before, another store in Bangkok, is probably one of the best concept store in the world those days, and it's in Bangkok. So I would say very advanced for me, for us at least, in terms of retail. And quite a lot of consumer, again, very advanced. They understand. I think they are the most advanced consumer of the Southeast Asia, if you remove maybe Hong Kong, which is for us unconventional presence because we are based here. But they really understand what we do. It's a good market for us.
Yeah, very discerning consumers there. Probably surprisingly so for a lot of brand owners. I got to go back. I want to touch on a background part of part of your background, which is working in the interior design space. So, the brick and mortar retail, I'm assuming you have an elevated level of value that you put on that brick and mortar space, given your background, and a well-designed, well thought out store is probably something that you do care about. We are seeing that obviously a lot of commerce moving online, but that is commerce being more specific to the purchase. Okay. And I think it's important to separate, to understand that commerce really is the purchasing, but it's not necessarily the entire journey of the consumer, right? So for China, for example, just became the first market in the world where more than 51% of all purchases take place online. So with that said, what do you think is the future of retail and commerce in Asia?
future of retail and commerce in Asia. Um, Again, I would not draw a big line between Asia and the rest of the world in that. I think now
Okay.
it's more about community based, and if your consumer care for brands that do high quality crafted product, I think is almost this consumer could be all over the world. But the future for me, the experience remain physical. I mean, we remain physical people, and whatever stratospheric growth we've seen in numbers, in valuation, in software, and in all that, the intangible things, the magic I would call, happen in physical experience. You go in a store, you touch something, suddenly you try it. It will create something on you that will never happen online. Never happen online. So in terms of discovery and experience and pleasure, I would say that the retail will remain. I'm still very positive, but it will have to be even more experiential. People will have from the outside of the store to feel something special, to be attracted to come in. Then when they enter, they will have to have all their sense activated, and that's the only way basically for a store to and then the person will be in this experience and will try something, and instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to check online if it's cheaper and buy it online, they will be too deep in this experience to step away, and they will continue, and they will I think proceed with the purchase, which is, I'm not a big consumer shopper at stores, but this happens to me sometimes for no reason. I'm attracted in a store, I come in with no intention to buy, and from only irrational set of conditions, I happen to leave the place with something. And this is now retail for me. This is the purpose of retail, is to trigger people's emotion.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, once people have discovered a brand and want to know more and maybe want to reorder, the online remains a growing convenience for all of us. So I don't think it will ever stop growing, at least for the coming years. But it doesn't mean that the retail will suffer from that. I think the bad retailer will not survive, but it will push the rest of them to be even more creative and to come up with a better experience for us. That's my view.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that retail never really had to work that hard. If you purchased, or if you leased the right space in the right mall or on the right street with the right amount of foot traffic, you really didn't have to do too much more than that to activate sales to a certain degree. And now I think retail has to put the work in, and they have to be very design oriented, and they have to be very thoughtful and have a lot of intent to everything that is experienced, as you said, by all the senses the minute they walk through that door. And you have a backup plan. You have a plan B, and that, yeah, you might actually be able to clean up some of that supposed lost revenues, because you might get that back through online anyway after they've left. Although, typically you don't want to count on that. I think we covered a little bit of what I wanted to talk about, what omni-channel retail means to you. Some of that was tied into that. So I want to jump into environmental sustainability and the green nature of your products. It's something that you really ingrained into the company, something very important in Native Union, and something that's very important to you as the founder and CEO. So what is it that you do? Is it something that the customers demand? And how are you responding to the market and to this kind of new evolution of making sure that you're either carbon neutral or that you're green in everything that you make?
Yeah. I could tell you that all our soft goods, I think we do is using recycled material. That on every product we do, we have a phase where we maximize the use of those recycled materials, that we try to sea ship everything instead of airship. So we have, I would say, all those table stakes of making sure that we are responsible in whatever we do. Okay. However, again, I'll be very transparent with you. We are making consumer products. We are making hardware products that sometime at the end of their cycle have to end up in a trash, because recyclability of our product is difficult because it's an aggregation of a lot of materials and components. So the cost to dismantle is very high. So what happened, I would say 3 years ago, so I have 3 kids. I think obviously I was aware, I was again responsible, but I've never been struck by this feeling of, wow, there's a massive problem, and it's really our responsibility. I was reading, I was conscious, but I've never been struck. And I think, I don't know what happened. I could not find the event, but 2 to 3 years ago, I really started to feel not at ease with continuing to do what we do without incorporating a kind of a bigger vision on we have to. Yes, we are in an industry where we make product, but we have to consider them better or do something different. And now, so Native Union, our new kind of promise is design for life, which could be read on multiple angles. Obviously, the durability element of it, the respectful of life element of it, the lifestyle element of it. But we've taken, I think, a very, very steep action recently, which is that we've decided to cut our catalog from 350 SKU to 120 only. We are going to do much less product, okay, but to try to do much better product, which means that we are reducing our revenue, which has been a very complicated discussion, again, with shareholder to say, you know what, we need to take a short-term, difficult decision in order to be a brand of the future. And we had too many products that were good product, but Native Union was not needed. You know what I mean? We were just making another product of that a bit better. And I think we are cutting all that. We are really now focusing this design for life is something we ask ourselves every day within the company when we make products. And so quality, durability, and making sure that whatever we do, we bring something new to the industry, or we make it better, has become essential to us. And I would push that to the extent where the people now in the company that do not have the same conviction, I know will not stay with us. We have to have this internal movement and moving force about, it has to come from the inside. And I think I manage, I think, to share and to infuse the team with this emergency and the fact that we have to act really differently. So yeah, we took this big action. We're going to have much less products. So we are now finishing to sell some of those products, and our catalog will be much smaller. But I feel this is the way to go again for a brand of the future. To be sure that whatever we do it very well, and it's not about quantity anymore. So that's our very defined new direction.
All right, I appreciate that, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that thesis. You know, that ideal that Native Union is carrying. I hope that more companies do continue to move in that direction as well in all areas of the world, wherever their markets are. So I appreciate that. Our last question, as we do with all our guests, is to ask potentially who you might think would maybe make a good guest. A couple of people that you know, maybe closely, maybe don't know, that you might be willing to, you know, drop their name on the air and say that we should get in touch with them, and that our listeners might want to hear them on the podcast as well.
Sure. There's a lot of very interesting stories, I would say, around here. Have a good friend, Jérôme, who arrived almost at the same time as me, and he went into the F&B And I don't know if you know, but Hong Kong is, I think, the country in the world with the most restaurants per head. So it's extremely competitive. So if you want to remain alive, you have to be good. And he's really good. So if you want to have the F&B perspective, again, Jerome is a great guy. Then there is Diego and Delphine from On the List, which you may have heard, which is an amazing, again, rocket growth business of private sales in Hong Kong and now developing all around Asia, which I think would be great. And another maybe a different point of view would be from a photograph as well that I know that was working from a completely different industry and decided to drop everything and start his passion for his talent as well, photography, and created this business around his talent and now a few people and grow his company and he's very good as well and he's in love with Hong Kong and everything it can bring from both a visual point of view and a business point of view. So he would be probably a very interesting guest to have as well, Harold.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. Thank you very, very much. Igor Duc, co-founder, CEO, Native Union. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Todd. Thank you very much again. And have a nice Christmas.
Yes, yes. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. And to all of our listeners who are probably going to be getting this in January, we do wish this. We're going to say it out loud now and you're going to hear it later. For those of you listening to us on the podcast, please don't forget that we have the video version on our YouTube channel. And for those watching us on YouTube, don't forget, if you need your hands and eyes and ears for other things, feel free to download the podcast and go listen to us over there. We are on Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere that you get your podcasts, and would love to hear from you, whether it's a like or a subscribe or a comment or reaching out or an email, even podcast@wpic.co. Anywhere that you want to get in touch with us, we'd love to hear from you. But for now, this is Todd Embley, and I'm signing off. Wish you all an amazing 2023.